The Barrett thundered once. Steel shattered 1,200 meters away. She was Spectre 4 Avery Mercer, a sniper who didn't exist. At Red Mesa range, 5 rounds passed through a single hole before the echo died. Then a message appeared on her screen. 7 will dim, one by one. Her former teammates began to die. Someone was hunting the ghosts of Spectre Unit using her own tactics, her own rhythm, her own mind. From the burning desert to the rain-soaked streets of Geneva. She chased a killer who knew every shot she'd ever take. But the countdown wasn't random. It ended with her name. Before we begin, tell us where are you watching from and if you believe honor and courage still matter. Help keep their legacy alive. The desert wind rolled across Red Mesa range, hot and sharp as a blade. Rows of NATO operators stood behind the firing line, watching the British team unpack their rifles. At the center, Sergeant Ethan Drake adjusted his scope, his grin too wide to be friendly. He looked toward the lone woman at the edge of the group. Fancy a try? Love, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. If you hit the target, I'll salute you. Miss, and you're on coffee duty for a week. Laughter followed. The kind that tests how much humiliation someone can take. Avery Mercer didn't flinch. She simply looked down at the weapon bench. Her eyes calm, detached, almost bored. Her blonde hair was tied back in a neat braid. The name patch on her shoulder read, U.S. Navy Mercer. Most of the men had already decided that meant logistics. Drake chambered around, dropping to prone position with theatrical precision. His L-115A3 gleamed under the sun. Custom barrel. Perfect balance. He breathed out once, then fired 5 shots in clean rhythm. The spotters called it in tight group at 1,200 meters. 3-inch spread. Applause rippled through the British line. Drake rose to his feet, dusted off his gloves, and winked. Your turn, sweetheart, he said. Don't be nervous. The safety's on the left. More laughter. Avery stepped forward without a word. She unzipped a worn canvas case and pulled out a Barrett M82A1. Its paint was chipped, the serial number filed off, the metal dull with years of sand and sweat. Someone behind her muttered, that relic belongs in a museum. Avery ran her hand along the receiver, pausing where the etching once was. For a second, her thumb brushed something faintly engraved DM, her father's initials. A voice echoed in memory, breathed between heartbeats. She blinked once, set the rifle down, and began to work. No wasted movement. She adjusted the bipod, checked the wind flags, licked her finger, and held it up. Her eyes tracked the shimmer of mirage above the sand. A small notebook came out of her pocket, pages filled with hand-scribbled formulas. She calculated the crosswind, humidity, barometric pressure all in her head. Someone scoffed. Is she doing homework? Drake leaned closer to his teammates. Maybe she's writing a grocery list, he whispered. The laughter came again, thinner this time. Avery loaded 1 round, closed the bolt, and settled behind the scope. Through the lens, the target looked no bigger than a coin. Her breathing slowed. Inhale. 4 seconds. Hold 2. Exhale 6. The trigger became an extension of her pulse. When the wind dropped, she squeezed. The Barrett roared, a thunderclap rolling through the desert. Brass spun from the chamber, clinking against the mat. Downrange, the spotter froze. Hit. Dead center. Drake frowned. Beginner's luck, he said, forcing a laugh. Avery didn't respond. She reloaded. Second shot. Bullseye. Third shot. Same hole. The murmurs behind her died. By the 4th shot, even the wind seemed to hesitate. Her rhythm never changed, breathing. Trigger, recoil, reset. When the 5th shot thundered, no one moved. The radio crackled, all 5 rounds single hole, diameter under 2 inches. Silence. Drake's jaw tightened. An older Marine named Whitaker stepped up to the scope, checked it himself, and exhaled slowly. That's Spectre precision, he muttered. The word spread like electricity specter. General Marcus Kincaid appeared from the command tent. Silver hair, steady gaze. He examined the Barrett, then rolled up his sleeve. On his forearm, A black circle with 7 carved notches. "This mark," he said, his voice carrying across the range, "belongs to 7 shooters who don't exist in any file. They served where no flag flies. Under no name." He nodded toward Avery. "One of them is standing right here." Drake swallowed hard. The smirk vanished. Kincaid turned to him. "You made a bet, Sergeant. Honor it." Drake hesitated, then snapped to attention and saluted. Avery returned the gesture with the same precision. No triumph in her face, only calm. When it was done, she packed the Barrett carefully, wiping dust from the scope. The sun glinted once on the barrel before she closed the case. As she walked away, her phone vibrated. Unknown number, 1 message impressive. "You missed one thing." She stopped, scanning the range. Everyone was accounted for: Drake, Whitaker, Kincaid, the teams. Then, on the sand in front of the bench, a faint red dot blinked once, right over the hole in the target, and vanished. The wind returned, carrying the scent of gun oil and dust. Avery looked toward the horizon, jaw set. Whatever had just begun at Red Mesa wasn't over, not by a long shot. Night settled over Red Mesa like a storm waiting to break. Floodlights painted the perimeter fences in harsh white lines. Inside Command Hall, 4 screens glowed with endless data: wind readings, ballistic logs, and drone feeds looping in silence. Lieutenant Avery Mercer stood beside General Kincaid, both staring at a terminal filled with encrypted strings. 48 hours after we declassified Spectre, he said, this appeared on screen. A black circle rotated slowly, 7 notches etched into its edge. "It's the same insignia from your unit," Kincaid continued. Avery's eyes stayed fixed on the display. "That mark was never meant to be public," she said quietly. The general leaned closer. "Someone wants it seen." Behind them, Sergeant Whitaker typed fast, tracing the intrusion path through Red Mesa's intranet. "Whoever's doing this knows our systems better than we do." Kincaid straightened. "Lock every line. Disable external routing." Whitaker nodded, fingers flying across the keyboard. Then the lights flickered once, twice, and went out. For a second, the base plunged into total darkness. The only sound was the hum of the emergency generator starting, then dying again with a choked whine. An alarm wailed, sharp and mechanical, echoing through the empty corridors. Avery's hand found her M4 before the siren finished its first cycle. Her movements were instinctive chamber check, safety off, flashlight clipped to rail. Kincaid reached for the backup comms. Nothing but static. They moved together down the hall, light beams cutting through dust. The smell of burnt circuitry hung in the air. Every monitor they passed displayed the same message: 7 will dim. Whitaker shouted from the comms bay. "General, it's rewriting our drives." Rows of servers blinked, data vanishing line by line. He yanked a hard drive free, it was already blank. "Kill the power grid manually," Kincaid ordered. Avery knelt beside the terminal, opening a side panel. Inside, she spotted a black device attached to the fiber line, pulsing faintly with blue light. "Found your leak," she said. Whitaker crouched beside her, squinting. "That's not standard issue. It's Spectre hardware." Avery froze. "That's impossible. Spectre never used base networks." He pointed to a micro-engraved code near the port. "Spectre 4. He read aloud. "That's your identifier." Her pulse quickened, though her face remained stone. "Someone wants it to look like me." Kincaid's tone sharpened. "Can anyone else generate that encryption? Only CIA second-tier clearance or higher," Whitaker replied. "And Spectre field operatives?" The general's jaw tightened. "Meaning it's either us or one of yours." Avery stood, the device still glowing in her hand. "It's not us," she said. "It's bait." The instant she said it, the device beeped twice, then projected a short line of text. "Room 614, Geneva." Kincaid frowned. "Geneva. There's a security conference next week." She nodded slowly. "And every intelligence branch will be there." He looked at her. "What do you want to do?" She handed the device to Whitaker. "Keep it cold, offline, and buried. Whoever planted this expects a reaction." Then, to Kincaid, "Permission to travel undercover, sir?" His reply came without hesitation. "Granted." Thunder rolled over the desert as she stepped outside. The sky above Red Mesa was pitch black. No stars, no moon. Generators buzzed faintly as the base tried to reboot its systems. She walked past the empty firing range, boots crunching on the gravel. The target she'd shattered earlier still hung at 1,200 meters, a single perfect hole in its center. Now, in the dark. That hole looked less like proof of victory and more like a warning. Her phone vibrated again. A new message. No number. Just 4 characters, 7/7. A chill ran through her despite the heat. She typed back instinctively. "Who are you?" No response. The message dissolved before her eyes. Then, far off, a single floodlight flickered on and off 3 times, in precise rhythm. Avery raised her rifle, scanning the ridge. Nothing but dust and wind. Yet she could feel it, someone out there, watching, counting. Behind her, alarms started again, weaker this time. Whitaker's voice came through her earpiece, static cutting every few words. System. Breach expanding. Not external. Internal. From command. Then silence. She turned back toward the base. In the distance, the control tower lights blinked once more and died completely. Her heart pounded once, then steadied. She slung the rifle across her back and started walking toward the command wing. Every instinct screamed that the fight wasn't out there anymore, it was inside. Inside the chain of command. Inside the system she had served all her life. And this time, the Predator wore her name. Rain swept across the glass towers of Geneva, turning the city's neon lights into streaks of silver. Inside the International Security Forum, hundreds of delegates moved through scanners and badge checks. Lieutenant Avery Mercer walked among them, wearing a technician's uniform and a borrowed identity badge. Her earpiece crackled softly. Whitaker's voice came through, faint from across the ocean. The payload's still offline. No new intrusion since the blackout. Avery kept walking, eyes scanning the mirrored walls. Then someone's waiting for me to turn it back on. She stepped into the conference atrium, rows of flags, marble floors, the smell of polished steel and rain. A display screen rotated names of speakers, NATO analysts, intelligence officers, deputy directors. At the very bottom, she saw one that froze her mid-step. Harold Caldwell, deputy director. Central Intelligence. Her old handler. The man who'd buried Spectre Unit and everyone in it. She felt her throat tighten, then forced herself to keep walking. Security passed her without a glance. She moved down the corridor, hand brushing the grip of her concealed pistol beneath the tablet case. Room numbers climbed 610, 611, 612. A voice behind her stopped her in place. "You always were terrible at blending in." "Lieutenant?" She turned. Caldwell stood a few feet away, holding 2 coffees and that familiar half-smile. "Geneva suits you," he said, offering 1 cup. Still, Black Avery's eyes stayed cold. Still careful. They walked side by side through the narrow hallway, the sound of rain muted by thick glass. "I assume you know why I'm here," she said. "Of course," he replied. "The device at Red Mesa was bait. I planted it." Her jaw tightened. "You framed me to draw out a ghost." He shook his head. "No, I armed you. That code signature wasn't evidence, it was a beacon." Caldwell sipped his coffee as if reading her reaction. "Every time Widowmaker accesses it, we see him, we track him." Avery stopped. "And if he never takes the bait," Caldwell smiled faintly. "He already did." "He sent you here." She didn't like the ease in his tone. Too controlled, too rehearsed. They entered a restricted elevator, descending into the secure briefing level. Monitors flickered with satellite feeds, encrypted traffic, and security overlays of the forum above. A technician nodded to Caldwell, then looked uncertainly at Avery's badge. "She's with me," Caldwell said, without looking. The technician turned back to his screen. For a moment, only the hum of servers filled the silence. "6 of your Spectre teammates are dead," Caldwell said softly. "Killed in the last month." Her hand clenched at her side. "Don't play me," she said. "You told the world we didn't exist." He looked at her. Exactly. Someone else remembered. He tapped a keyboard. A monitor lit up with a live feed from a traffic camera. Grainy, raining hard. A tall man in a dark hood crossed a plaza, carrying a metallic case. Timestamp 2 hours ago. Location 1 block from the Forum. Widowmaker, Caldwell said. He's here. Avery's pulse quickened, but her voice stayed calm. You're certain? Caldwell zoomed in on the image just enough to see a red mark glint under the man's sleeve. The same tattoo as yours, he said. The obsidian circle. Avery stared at the screen. That's not possible, she whispered. No one outside Spectre had it. Caldwell closed the feed. People adapt. Programs evolve. He handed her a flash drive. You'll find everything we know about him on this. But be careful, it's incomplete. Why give this to me, she asked. Because I can't touch him, he said quietly. He's inside NATO's own network. Every time I move, he moves first. The way he said it made her stomach twist. She realized he was afraid. Before she could answer, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She glanced down. A single message blinked across the screen 6/7. Then another, You shouldn't have come. Caldwell leaned over her shoulder, frowning. Is that him? But she was already moving toward the exit, scanning every reflection, every corner. He's watching this room, she said. Right now. As if to confirm it, the overhead lights dimmed, flickering once, twice. A camera on the far wall swiveled toward them without input. The technician turned, confused. Sir, that's not... The screen behind them changed. Live feed Avery and Caldwell standing together, exactly as they were now, except the timestamp said 30 seconds ahead. Room 614, the monitor read. Her blood ran cold. That was the same code from Red Mesa. Caldwell's voice was barely a whisper. He's not tracking us. He's predicting us. Avery pulled the flash drive from his hand and stepped back. Then he already knows what happens next. Her voice steadied. And he's wrong. She sprinted down the hallway as security alarms erupted. Overhead, rain pounded harder against the glass. Through the storm, somewhere close, she felt at the gaze of someone who knew every move she'd make. And for the first time since Red Mesa, Avery Mercer wasn't just being hunted. She was being studied, tested. And the next move would be hers. Night poured over Geneva like ink, rain tapping against every pane of glass. Avery Mercer sat in the back of a silent sedan, eyes fixed on the glow of her laptop. The screen pulsed with alive trace red dots marking each active Spectre signal still left alive. 7 dots had become 4. Each blinked once, then steadied. She whispered to herself, You're not taking the rest. Leo Whitaker, sitting in the passenger seat, watched the data roll. The beacon Caldwell gave you, it's pinging again, he said. Origin, she asked. He swallowed. Beneath the Forum, sublevel C. The car stopped near a service ramp slick with rain. Avery pulled on gloves, checked her sidearm, and slung the Barrett across her shoulder. The city hummed above them, traffic, sirens, the low growl of thunder. Inside the tunnel, the air turned cold, metallic, thick with the smell of oil and dust. Their flashlights cut through darkness, beams bouncing off wet concrete. Every footstep echoed like a clock counting down. At the base of the stairwell, Leo paused beside a security door half open. A faint light flickered inside a monitor's glow. He looked at her. You ready? Avery nodded once. She stepped inside. Scanning the room servers lined every wall, humming faintly. In the center stood a desk covered in open drives, wires, and an untouched cup of coffee. On one of the screens, lines of code scrolled faster than her eyes could follow. At the bottom, a message flashed. Hello. 4. Her stomach dropped. He's here. The speakers crackled. A calm, distorted voice filled the room. You brought company. I thought you preferred to work alone. Show yourself, Avery said. The voice chuckled softly. I'm showing myself. Every screen flickered. showing grainy footage of her and Leo entering the tunnel looped from seconds earlier. Leo's voice trembled. "He's watching us through our own feed." Avery unplugged the router cable with one sharp pull. The screens went black, then reignited instantly, brighter than before. "Cutting cables won't help," the voice said. "This system was mine before it was built." A single feed expanded thermal vision of a figure standing behind a glass partition. Avery turned fast, aiming her pistol. The man stepped into the light, tall, lean, face pale under the monitor glow. He wore no armor, no insignia, just calm eyes that mirrored hers. "So, this is the Widowmaker," she said. He smiled faintly. "And you're the ghost who forgot she was dead." Avery's finger rested on the trigger. "Why kill the others?" He tilted his head. "Because they remembered things they shouldn't." Spectre was never meant to live. His tone was almost gentle. "I'm finishing what we started. By murdering your own. By erasing mistakes," he said. "Including me." Then he pointed at her with a faint smirk. "And you," Leo whispered. "He's got motion sensors tied to the servers. Trip them and he'll trigger something." Avery's eyes flicked to a small console beside Widowmaker. 6 icons glowed red deadman switches. He saw her looking. "If I flatline," he said, 6 targets light up across Europe. All your remaining teammates. 1 heartbeat gone." Avery steadied her aim but didn't fire. "Then what do you want to watch you make a choice?" He said. "Run and save yourself, or stay and die with ghosts." His voice dropped to a whisper. "You're not a soldier anymore. Mercer, you're a liability." She lowered her weapon slowly. "Wrong," she said. "I'm the variable you didn't plan for." Then she hurled the flash drive Caldwell had given her toward the main terminal. It struck the glass, slid across the desk, and jammed into a live port. The screens exploded in static, the room filled with the hiss of corrupted data and Widowmaker's furious shout. Leo grabbed her arm. "We need to move." They sprinted toward the exit as sparks rained from the ceiling. Behind them, the monitors melted into white noise. At the stairwell, Avery looked back once. Widowmaker stood amid the smoke, face ghostly in the glow. He didn't chase. He only watched. Outside, the storm had turned violent. Rain hammered rooftops. Wind howled through narrow alleys. Avery leaned against the car, catching her breath. Leo opened his tablet. "The network's down." "You fried it." She nodded, wiping rain from her face. "Not enough. He's still out there." Then her phone buzzed again. 3/7. Her eyes narrowed. "He's moving faster." Another message followed. "You're next." She slipped the phone into her pocket, calm returning to her voice. "Good," she said. "Saves me the trouble of finding him." She turned to Leo. "Tell Kincaid I'm done running. Set the trap." Lightning flashed, illuminating the lake in blinding white. Somewhere across the city, a camera lens focused, zooming in on her silhouette. A man's voice spoke through a secure line. "She's coming." Another voice answered low, familiar, and alive when it shouldn't be. "Good," it said. "I've been waiting." The feed cut to black. The rain kept falling. And the ghost who wasn't supposed to exist was back on the hunt. If you enjoyed the story, consider sending a super chat to help bring more stories like this. Now, click on the video on the screen to hear another story that's just as powerful and captivating with courage, sacrifice, and a choice that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about duty and justice.